Conti, bella palla per Rebic, Ibra, Rebic, il tiro, goal!
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the SempreMilan podcast. I'm your host, Ollie Fisher, joined once again by Anthony Torgrew.
Yeah, what's up guys? Happy to be here. We got Gian with us as well.
Yeah guys, good to be back.
And we've got, by popular demand, Stefano is with us. You may know him from the YouTube videos that we're uploading on a Wednesday now, where we take a look in depth at a different topic to do with the club. Stefano's the face of that. He's doing a fantastic job, and people have been asking for him on the podcast, so we've delivered him.
Cool. Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Happy to give my sort of opinion on obviously the club on a weekend and day to day sort of thing. And obviously, good result today. So let's get cracking, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, so we've got a nice mix today because AJ's tired. He woke up at 3:30 for the game, 3:30 a.m. Jan's tired because he's played 2 football matches in one day.
And had a week on the booze.
Yeah. And Stefano tired / hungover because same reason as Jan, to be honest. So yeah, this should be a fun one, but at least we won the game, so we don't have to steam into the team straight away. But yeah, we'll begin by recapping the game against Genoa this afternoon. Hate early kickoffs. We all hate the early kickoffs. They never seem to go well for us. They're never straightforward. We always drop points. At home, we've been shit this season anyway, or at least in 2021. But today, I guess it's one of those. I said in the chat, I said on Twitter, we're at that point in the season now where there was 24 points to play for. Doesn't matter about performances so much. It's about the results business at this stage, and we just about managed to get over the line. But it wasn't a vintage performance by any means, and it relied on an own goal to win it for us. Early goal from Rebic that set the tone. Really good goal as well. Sort of off balance, half volley, bang into the far corner across his body. And then equaliser from who else but Mattia Destro. He's got 3 goals against us this season now.
He's got 4 in his last 5 against us as well.
Good start. He was a weird one, was Mattia Destro. But that's probably one for another time. And then we got the win. We ended up getting the winner. We were pushing, to be fair, in that second half. We were the team that were pushing, and we found the goal. For once, I guess there was a decent corner delivery. Kier had missed a chance a few minutes before where he'd headed one just wide, and I'm wondering when he's finally going to get that goal header from a corner, because he's hit the bar on like 3 occasions, and he had that one that just went wide, and then he missed that one today. But it was an own goal from, you could say his first goal in a Milan shirt for Gianluca Scamacca. But yeah, 3 points. AJ, just a matter of getting the job done.
Yeah, that's the only thing that matters at this point. Like you said, there's 7 games left, so just get as many points as you possibly can any way possible. One stat I saw that was interesting, it said we've scored from 25 set pieces this season, which is the most out of any Serie A team. I'm assuming they're counting penalties in that. But that sounds really high, especially for a team like us who's struggled on both taking set pieces and defending them. So, that was a nice surprise to see, I guess. What else is it? Rebic, he's an interesting one. He either has something incredible or just absolute terrible. Like there's no in between. There's no like, oh, that was a decent shot. It's always like a crazy karate kick or that volley that he scored today. Or it's that point blank miss that he skyrocketed somehow. There's no in between with this guy. It's ridiculous. You never know what you're going to get out of him. We just got to hope and pray that we continue to get the good, I guess. As far as their goal, it was just Destro did what he was supposed to do. Tomori messed up on there. This might be a hot take. I think Tomori had a really bad game. I know everyone's cheering him on because he made that goal line clearance, but we only had to do that goal line clearance because of him. He went to head the ball when Donnarumma was diving out to get it. Donnarumma had hands on it, and he headed the ball, and then he had to kind of move, and then that's why he spilled it. So, luckily he made up for it with that save, but that wasn't his first mistake of the game. His first one was the goal, and then there were 3 misplaced passes that went straight to Genoa players that led to counterattacks after that as well. So, if we're going to slate Romagnoli every week for bad performances, we got to do it for Tomori as well. So, just my 2 cents there.
Yeah, Jan, what do you think?
Personally, I don't think it was that bad of a game like a lot of people are making now. We had more than enough chances in the game to to make it a decent scoreline for us. You had the Leao in the first half where he hit straight per in, the Rebic miss, the Calhanoglu miss, then our 2 goals on top. So I don't actually think it was a bad performance. And with the goal that we conceded, again, I wouldn't say Tomori had a bad game. It wasn't one of his better ones, but again, we seem to be having good games at the back, but then just conceding a sloppy goal again every week. And I just want to see a clean sheet. I said it last week, and as much as Tomori is to blame for the goal, I'd still pin a little bit of it on Gigio. Not in a harsh way, but it was half before the corner was taken, the cross put in, whatever it was. It was halfway out of his box, not his box, but in his 6-yard box. Most goalkeepers go for that. You saw Perin all game coming out, claiming everything they've run in. Gigio, a very, very tall footballer, should have got that, and he scattered back, and he didn't even attempt to make a dive. So I was a bit disappointed with that. But again, similar to last week, the main fault is on the defender, but I do think Gigio is slightly to blame.
Yeah, since we're unpicking errors first, Stefano, who are we blaming for the goal? Who are we blaming for the 2 goal line clearances that were needed? We did seem a little bit at 6s and 7s at times against a team that doesn't score a lot of goals.
For me on this one, all right, let's say like the goal itself, I think that's good movement from Desra. I think it's just simply, we know Tomori's weakness is probably headering in the air because of his height. I think with Tomori as well, it wasn't his best game, but I think what you have to take into account is the amount of times he is able to break down like potential attacks coming from the other side because of his pace. And then we can compare him to Romagnoli. Obviously, Romagnoli might get to that header, but Tomori in open play is much more, is much more effective winning us back the ball when it comes to obviously that when they're attempting to attack. I thought we're talking about the guy who scored the own goal for them, Scamacca, in my opinion, didn't have a great game. And that was mainly down to the likes of Tomori, who was very, hustling the player all the time, giving no time on the ball. Tomori, yeah. So Tomori is at fault for the goal. It's good movement on Destro's behalf. And also when it came to the goalkeeping, hash like Donnarumma did, me, that's the goalkeeper. At the end of the day, I said this on Twitter, we're talking about a guy who isn't signing a contract because he's probably wants to see where we're going to finish the season. Well, it's his actions that are going to affect where we finish. And if there isn't the soldiers like Simon Kaya or Tomori in the line to block that out, we're drawing that game. And and that would have been, wasted opportunity because Atalanta obviously beat Juventus today, potentially Inter can hopefully beat Napoli to get some points up on that balance there. So yeah, I've got to blame Donnarumma for that one there, and obviously Tomori for the goal. But good.
I do agree if they weren't on the line, like we draw that game, plain and simple. 100% agree with that. And yeah, you can't, exonerate Donnarumma of all blame for spilling that because ultimately he did spill. You can still hold on to that ball. He had it in his hand. I just think the position of Tomori on that and his actions, I don't know where the lack of communication was, if Gigio said, I'm going for it, or if Tomori said, I got it, or if there's just no talking at all. But I do think that mix-up there directly led to Gigio spilling it. But again, you're talking about a player who's demanding 10 to 12 million a year. You have no mistakes every game.
They should have glue on these goalkeeping gloves. Simple.
I agree. Completely agree. And with the salary like that, everything he does is going to be under scrutiny, and it has to be. So completely agree with that.
I feel like it felt like when I saw the cross come in and it was very like you're watching it and you go, like, he's got it. He's got near enough both hands on this. You thought, okay, cool. And all of a sudden I'm looking up, like, he spilled the ball. And I'm thinking, no, surely this isn't going to be the moment where we're going to muck this game up and obviously give away points. But it seems to be like certain moments are too good to be true. And that just gave me that one moment of just past times of the club where, we just lost games or lost points because of individual errors. And we'll come back to the coach on this one. This isn't the coach's fault. The coach can't control what someone's going to... The coach can't control Theo Hernandez doing a back pass stupidly to Quagliarella and obviously the open goal. The coach can't control Donnarumma, muffling that ball. It's like these are individual errors that players are doing. And it also goes down the other side of the pitch as well. I feel like we should talk about as well the amount of wasteful opportunities that the team had today. Like, it was just continuous counter-attacks. Obviously, it's not ideal to have Krunic, Brahim Diaz, or I can't remember who else there was. Like, even Dalot got into the box with a counter-attack at one opportunity. Just wasting them. That game should have been long done before, shouldn't even let him back into the game. At 1-0, should have got it back to, 2-0. There were many opportunities for that. And even in the start of the second half, that Rebic miss, there were just so many opportunities that we should have just put the game. They should have been an easy game. Should have been an easy game. But
it's one of them
Yeah.
frustrating things that, especially you see it with Twitter, but fans in general, when everything's going great, the players get all the praise for it. But then when it's going bad, the manager gets the blame. And like you said, the manager cannot be held accountable for individual errors. These are top-level footballers that I'm sure we're about to get onto about wanting to go to the European Super League, playing at elite level. And they can't, make tap-ins. They can't do basic 5-yard passes. It's a bit embarrassing, and we've done a great job to get where we are, and Pioli's pretty much behind a lot of that. But so the players, don't get me wrong. But like you said, individual errors can't be just put on the coach.
No, definitely not. And there were a few today. I would say that as victories go, pretty much since the start of the season, that was one of our worst performances, to be totally honest. Jan's right. We created enough chances to put that game to bed. Put the game to bed twice over. We missed a couple of bad chances inside the area. The Rebic one, bizarre. When he scores a goal like the one that he did, the half volley across his body, a really hard goal to score technically. And then to miss the one that he did just by leaning back, just a lack of concentration, not waiting for the ball, snatched at it, and that would have put us in a much more comfortable position. But then the thing that really, really infuriated me was that I thought that I know it was a different situation because we were down to 10 men and Parma were piling forward, but I thought that goal by Leao on the break to make it 3-1 in the dying stages. The intelligent run of Dalot for that goal, I thought we turned a corner a little bit in terms of not being as wasteful on the counter, when we had those opportunities to put games away. But then today was absolutely dreadful. We had at least 3 counter-attacks where we'd overloaded them with numbers, be that a 3-on-2, be it a 2-on-1. And every single time we made, the wrong choice was made. I mean, Krunic in particular, I just seem that have a vivid memory sticking out of me where he got the ball taken off him on sort of the left edge of the box, and that had stalled a counter. And he turned around laughing as if what? I'm just thinking that's dreadful. You've got a big chance to impress here, and that's your attitude. But he wasn't the only one who spurned an opportunity on the counter. It was a very unpolished performance overall. Genoa had chances. I thought that going a goal up would probably be enough to see us good today. I predicted 1-1 boldly in the predictions last week because I thought that they'd be well organised and they'd give us a game, and it might be a game where we go behind again and then we have to scrap to get a point. Nearly happened the other way around where we went ahead and threw it away. But the errors were there. I totally agree that for Genoa's equaliser, that's what Destro does. The vast majority of his goals ahead is his movement and his aerial ability are unquestionable. He's a veteran forward in this league, and he knows what it takes to score goals. But the set piece worries pop up again. We had a real problem where I think there was something like 4 goals in a row for us at one point were conceded from set pieces, and it felt like we might have started to put that behind us a little bit. But then that goal today, he won't score an easier header than that. And it was from a corner. Sometimes from a cross, like the Lukaku to Lautaro one in the opening minutes of the derby, you think that's a shame, but one of your centre-backs has been dragged out and it's a cross that's happening as players move in and it's an inch-perfect cross, blah, blah. From a corner, there is absolutely no excuse for their main centre-forward to be left alone like that. And he manages to evade Tomori relatively easily. Tomori seemed a bit flat-footed to me on that, as if he was expecting a run around to the back post. And when he darted near post, that kind of shocked him. But even still, we tend to play like a mix of zonal and man marking. And you just think that if a player like that loses their man, they still shouldn't have an uncontested header. But it happened, and there it was. And then didn't really learn our lesson, and we allowed them to keep crossing the ball, particularly in the second half when we were 2-1 up, and it nearly cost us. I mean, Donnarumma came out for that ball, and he was right to do so. And to be totally honest, he wasn't far off actually claiming it fairly cleanly. But then as he's falling forward, he almost accidentally palms it straight into the path of, I can't remember who it was who fired the first effort. I know the second one was Badel. But yeah. And
Mike Piazza. think.
Yeah, yeah.
Mike Piazza.
That commentator, man. Jeez. What else did he get wrong? Because he kept saying Piazza, and he said something else earlier on that was driving me nuts too. It was he was saying Perrin's name wrong. What was he saying? It was like Perrin.
Perrin.
Yeah.
He was saying it like he was French,
bro.
Yeah, it was
And then he had
fire that guy.
Sights in midfield that were nearly giving me nightmares just the thought of it.
Who's the guy at the back as well? Is it Goldeniga? Goldeniga or something like that?
Yeah, Goldeniga.
Yeah, he kept saying like Goldeniga or something. Goldeniga.
Oh my god.
Yeah, he just couldn't get anything right, man. That guy was driving me nuts.
Yeah.
Anyway, continue.
Yeah, so it was Mike Piazza who had the effort blocked initially, and then it came back out to Badel, and that was cleared back this morning. Amazing, fantastic, great highlight clip of them two putting their bodies on the line and getting the ball away. But yeah, another avoidable situation. We shouldn't really have to be that desperate. And with Gian, it's getting frustrating now that we can't seem to keep a clean sheet, because if you keep a clean sheet, it makes life very, very easy. We don't tend to draw games 0-0. So, you've got to back yourselves as long as you're not conceding anything at the other end. But we have a knack now for letting in sloppy goals, and that will make teams that are fighting. I mean, Genoa are sort of mid-table, so not fighting, but we've got
When
to
was
play
our last clean sheet? I think I
Crotone.
saw that. Yeah.
No, Verona, 7th of March.
Oh, Verona away, yeah, sorry. Our last home clean sheet was Crotone, which is mental.
I saw Kier hasn't had one in his last 10 starts.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's tough. That's something where, okay, yes, coach isn't responsible for individual errors, but can you look at a wider trend there and say that that isn't good enough, for us to not be able to? Does it imply there's a problem with the defence as a whole? I don't know. We've not been able to field the same back four too much this season, I think the biggest stretch of games that we've had with the back four being the same is about 4 games. And then obviously we've got
3 at the start of the season, want to get them 3 clean sheets.
Yeah, and
Gabia,
yeah, exactly. Obviously Calabria's out, so that means that there's always going to be a battle for who takes the right back spot between Dalot and Kalulu. I actually thought Kalulu had what did he get in the ratings? I thought Kalulu I thought he had a semi-decent game, to be honest, and he should have had an assist, obviously, for the chance that was missed with that darty run into the box. But I just think he gives us a bit at both ends. He's not frightened to get stuck in, but also he looks pretty threatening going forward. And him and Scamacca actually look to have a good understanding. They played a couple of nice 1-2s, and obviously the chance where he got to the byline. So I was impressed with him, and he gets the nod over Dalot every time for me. If we're going to start Dalot now, surely it has to be at left back, unless we're absolutely forced to play him at right back. And then, Kier probably man of the match for me.
I would agree with that. Yeah. I think Pioli actually got everything right. Well, maybe not everything, but the good majority right, today. I think the lineup was exactly what it needed to be as far as personnel. The only substitution that was kind of weird was Dalot coming on. I just don't think that was a necessary change. And at first I was a little hesitant when he took Salamakers off, but I liked how attacking minded we seemed after he did that, moving Diaz to the right. No, did Çalhanoğlu go out right and then Diaz was center? I can't remember.
Çalhanoğlu sort of drifted out right, and you could see that was because we were trying. Çalhanoğlu, again, we keep jumping from really good to really bad, but I thought Çalhanoğlu and Leao were poor, to be honest. Now, Leao is fighting a losing battle from the start because we cannot keep fielding him as a centre forward, and I don't know what the other solution is, but that says to me that we're pretty desperate because he just doesn't have it, He scored that one goal against Torino earlier in the year. I think it was on January the 4th, where Brahim slid that ball through to him in behind and he finished, and everyone's like, this is where Leao can work as a centre forward. He has not been given anything like that time or space since. I think that Serie A is a league where they will just mop up that kind of player all day. If you look around the league at the great centre forwards, none of them are his sort of profile. None of them are quick, nippy, drift out wide. They all tend to be physical. They all tend to get involved in multiple parts of the game. I think Leao as a centre forward only works if you've got players that are linking in and around him. And Pioli said after the game that one of the things that he looked to do was basically have Leao and Rebic up front together. So he wasn't as isolated. And then I guess that means that Teo pushes up and Çalhanoğlu pushes round a little bit. And that's what we saw. And it worked in the first half, to be honest. the movement was there, and yes, we weren't blitzing them by any means, but obviously Rebic got the goal, and there was a couple of other chances as well. There was a pullback that went to the penalty spot, and it was just between both Rebic and Leao. And that to me just shows that the chemistry wasn't quite there, and then Theo Hernandez ended up dragging the shot wide. But yeah.
So what is your solution? Do you swap Rebic and Leao? Put Leao in the middle, or
I would have done that today because I think Rebic is in much better goal scoring form. For a start, he's got 6 goals in 2021. He's got those as a winger. Now, people will say don't take him away from the position where he scored those goals, and I totally understand that. But we've seen today he's an instinctive finisher, really, and he tends to find himself in better areas to score than what Leao does. I also understand that it's hard to take Rebic off the left because of his chemistry with Theo, but then that hasn't always been there over the last few weeks either. So then it becomes you've just got to find an emergency solution for one game. I mean, obviously, Zlatan's back from his suspension for midweek, which is great, but I question if Mandzukic was fit enough. We don't know how long enough Mandzukic could play today, but he came on obviously for the last half hour, and I thought he made a difference, to be honest. I thought he pinned Genoa a lot deeper. He looked lively, and they looked almost shocked when at times he drifted out wide, and that created a bit more threat down the middle.
I know I was shocked. I didn't think he was going to have that in him, to be honest. I don't know if his fitness is still there, though. He did look pretty tired by the end of the game, and he didn't play that much. So, but he definitely made a difference.
Yeah, I said it 1-1 that I would have probably gone 2 up front at that point and had Mandzukic and Leao up front and just try win some flick-ons, cause some problems, get some balls into the box. Interesting. I mean, I saw a tweet. I can't remember who it was from, but it summed it up perfectly. This idea that the moment we don't have Zlatan in the team is when we start getting the ball wide and putting crosses into nobody. And that was true. The amount of times that we crossed and it was either another gripe of mine with Çalhanoğlu. I can't remember him beating the first man with a delivery at all. It's really frustrating. Really, really frustrating. Like, these are the moments that can decide games. If you're asking for $5 million a year as a playmaker, you better show that you can at least beat the first man with the ball into the box. It's just basics. I'd be upset if my local non-league team.
I don't get how he's still why we keep seeing this stat that he's got the most free kicks over the last decade or something ridiculous, but he scored 1 in the last 7 years. I don't get it. Why was he only prolific before us? It drives me crazy.
I enjoyed that today where he planted the ball 30 yards out, and I was thinking he's not gonna. And he stepped up and tried to knuckleball one in, and he just twatted it straight into the wall. I thought that is a perfect summary of his free kick taking since he's been here. But yeah, Stefano, Çalhanoğlu and Leao weak links in the attack, but the other two were all right. I think Scamacca's was actually pretty bright.
I mean, for me, Leao just lacks sort of mental aggression. And I think you see it when Mandzukic came in. It's not even just what you do on the ball; it's much more what you do off the ball. Mandzukic was doing quite well to even drop into the midfield, sort of nip at the ball handler, maybe get the ball back, start up a possession. Leao I don't know what it is with him. He seems to be not there. Whether it's because he's being rotated into in and out of the team. I think he's got a confidence issue right now. The quality's there. I think we know we got a player here that I don't want to give up on him. I don't think a lot of fans want to give up on him because as well there's a lot of money in this player. There's a lot of money. You think about the transfers that preceded it with Cutrone going away. Who was brought in from Lille. So yeah, I think Leao he needs to step up. Çalhanoğlu, I don't know. I did a video for you guys backing this guy a couple weeks ago. He hasn't been the same since January. He hasn't been the same, and it's getting very infuriating now. Where he's got an amazing both feet, great from range. You can shoot, you always hit it on target. Be the goalkeeper's nightmare. But I don't know. For me, he's just he can't beat his man. He can't even just make the right ball. There's a lot of sloppiness. I remember one point Benacer got the ball down from a goal kick or something or a long ball. And he's sort of waiting for Hakan to maybe collect it and then give and go. And then Hakan's sort of hesitating. And And then all of a sudden, the Genoa the player comes and nips the ball off us. And Benacer's thinking, like, aren't we on the same wavelength? What's going on here? So Hakan, for me, it's becoming obviously it's going to be a question now. Can we get a better player out, for his position? And there is lots more better players in this position in the world football, in attacking midfield, who I think can improve our team, make us a bit more, make us more concise, effective. We can do, I don't know. It's a hard one with Hakan because as well, you don't want to see a player go away on a free. You want to at least make a profit off him. But for the money he's asking for, it's ridiculous because for me, it's just there needs to be more improvement in our clinicalness to sort of just take the game by the scruff of the neck. And I think you mentioned about the clean sheets before. Milan needs to find its identity with what sort of club they want to be. And we talk about clean sheets, and they are important, don't get me wrong. But we could be like Atalanta. We could smoke teams 5-1. They never get a clean sheet ever. But obviously today they did. they rarely get clean sheets. But the difference is they'll destroy teams 4-1, 3-1, 5-1, all this, 4-2, whether it's 5-2. But they don't care about the clean sheets because they're obviously making their difference when it comes to goals scored. And I feel like we're somewhere in between that. We don't know whether we're going to be a very good defensive unit or we're going to be a very strong counter-attacking offensive side. We need to find our sort of identity and either pick one of them. And it comes to the inexperience of certain players in attack and wasting a lot of chances. If we were a bit more, I don't know, clinical, we'd win this game today 4-1, in my opinion. Not even to concede a goal, but it's such a shame. But we're young though. We're a young, naive team, and I think a lot of fans need to remember that we're growing. The coach is growing with his team as well. It's Rome wasn't built in a day, So we got to see this out. But it's just back to your original question about Leao and Çalhanoğlu. Yeah, there's not a lot for me to go and say that this is looking good for them. Especially, for a fact, as soon as Ibra's back in next week, Leao's back on that bench, and it's going to hit his confidence even more. If we had a player in the squad right now in Çalhanoğlu's position who was better than him, Çalhanoğlu would be on the bench as well. So, for me, it's not looking good.
I think my issue with Hakan is, like you said, since January he hasn't been there, but then he turns up in the international break and he plays like Maradona for Turkey, and he's sensational. And you expect him then to come back and think, you know what, I'll show you why I'm worth $5 million a year. And he just hasn't been that. And then with Leao, I kind of feel for him because this season we've had a load of injuries. He's had his fair share too. And he's just been dragged from pillar to post. 1 week he's at left wing, 1 week he's up front. The next week he's in centre attacking mid. And for a player in his development years, he's never going to be able to settle in a position and actually show what he's capable of. You give him 3 weeks running at left wing or 3 weeks running at centre attacking mid or 3 weeks running up front, you might actually see some more from him. I thought his off-the-ball movement today was actually pretty good. It was just a few times where we tried playing the ball over the top and we just didn't hit the right pass. And then a couple of times we just didn't actually release the ball early enough and he ended up just straying offside, so we didn't end up playing the ball. I'd keep faith in Leao, but for now, it's a tough one with Hakan. Personally, I think if he's not going to sign the contract, then just put him on the bench because he's no good to us at the minute. He's not doing anything that's keeping him in the starting 11. So, Krunic might be weak technically, but at least he plays with a bit of heart. And Diaz, if we're going to intend on keeping him on loan next year, play him, let him grow with the squad for the last 7 games of the season, and just show that Hakan is not actually invincible and there's life about him, and he might, then when he gets his chance, do something. Or if he goes, he goes. It's not the end of the world. There's life after Milan.
The thing with the Leao thing for me was perfectly summed up when in the first half we won the ball up fairly high up the pitch. I think it was Kessier who played a good long through ball, and Leao outpaced his man and latched onto it and dribbled at him, and it looked like he was going to beat him. And he got inside the box, and then he cut inside into a good shooting position. And what did he do? He fell over his own legs. When he had options, or he could have shot from a dangerous area, he tripped over his own feet. That perfectly summed up probably Leao's 2021. Because he, like Hakan, he was really good in the first half of the season. He'd already matched his numbers for last season when he was really inconsistent. But he hasn't been there. Yes, I do see where Jan's coming from. I feel sorry for him in the sense that he's not had a run of games in a particular position. I still don't think that Milan know what they're doing with him, to be totally honest. And this might be bold, and I'm not saying that I'm 100% decided on this opinion yet, but I would sell him if a good offer came in this summer. I understand why people would say let's stick with him because there's potential there. But he's coming up to 2 full seasons in Serie A now. And he hasn't shown that he's good enough to bench Rebic as the left winger. And he hasn't shown that he can do it as a deputy centre-forward either. So where does that leave him in a 4-2-3-1? It leaves him constantly on the bench. Now, if we can sell him for 30 million euros and we can put that towards somebody who is going to be an out-and-out starter on the right wing, or is going to be guaranteed quality as a centre-forward like a Vlahovic, like a Belotti, that is money better used, without a shadow of a doubt, than a guy who we keep saying, well, he might do it eventually. He's got to start doing it. He cost us 28 million euros. You know, there comes a time where people have been hounded for a lot less than this. Tonali has been heavily scrutinised this season for his performances. And we've all said, okay, let's give him a bit of time. But at the same time, every player has their price tag that comes with them. And a club like Milan cannot wait forever, especially with a project that should really be kind of unforgiving. You know, we need success quickly to get back to the level that we want to be at. So sometimes we're going to get it wrong with potential signings. Players are going to come in that we pay money for, and we're going to have got it wrong. And sometimes we need to nip those mistakes in the bud and not hang on to a player who's depreciating in value like we have done in the past with the likes of Paqueta and Piontek. And I just don't know if this might be a case of right player, wrong time for us. And like I say, I'm not 100% behind that opinion. I'm sort of like 50-50. I think if he shows a bit between now and the end of the season, you definitely stick with him. But you can definitely make a case that he doesn't fit at the moment. He doesn't fit in any position.
The issue with that is then you're not giving the club's project any credibility because we're trying to build a young team for the future. And obviously, as fans, we want to win and we want players to come good. But then you look at Paqueta, he's doing brilliant at Lyon now. Yes, we got the better side of the deal in a way because we got the money. Silva, doing brilliant at Frankfurt now. But we don't give the players enough time. 2 seasons at their age, when he's only 21 now, isn't long enough to judge him, which is fair enough. If you want to win trophies, go sign experienced players like we've done, and I've done with it, and cancel this youth project. But if you're going to stick with a youth project, then you've got to give these players 2-3 seasons. That's why you sign them on 5-year deals, because knowing that even after maybe 4 years, they're only 23 and there's still a market value for them. Whereas you sign an experienced player to win, but then you can't get rid of them. So for me, I get what you're saying, but at the same time, what we're going to do if we sign Vlahovic after 2 seasons because he hasn't expected, get rid of him and start again, and then we're just on a constant cycle of buying young talent, getting rid, buying young talent, getting rid. You've just got to, at some point, stick with it, I think.
No, fair. The only thing that I would say about Leao is he's got the potential whereby his market value is probably still pretty high. There would be a team who would come along and pay good money for him. We might even make a profit on him. Now, I know it ain't all about money and stuff like that. But yeah, just while
it kind of is, though.
Well,
I mean, in modern football, like that's money determines it.
It is, but we've got to build. Obviously, we can't be a selling club. We can't be a Leipzig or a Dortmund that signs players young with the expressed intention of just selling them on for hire. Milan needs to be a destination, not a. But you're right about we're looking after our accounts and stuff like that. But the one thing I will say about Leao is that we're not protecting him as an asset really either. The players that you sign on the 5-year deals and stuff that we've got to show patience with, like we'll hopefully do with Tomori, but then Teo Hernandez, we did the same with Kessié, with Benacer, Salamakers, basically the rest of the team. But Leao, meanwhile, is only getting his minutes in positions that aren't favourable to him, or he's been hung out to dry, basically. And I feel for him. And I wonder if he's a bit frustrated as well. And do you see that in his inconsistency, where he tries really hard sometimes? And you would be,
You would. I genuinely think you would, especially when you're a young player that's trying to progress and develop into a potential world beater, and then you're just getting played out of position every other match, or when you are getting played in position, you're only getting 20, 30 minutes. What are you supposed to do in them 20, 30 minutes? And he's shown enough to suggest that if you give him 5, 6 consistent games at left wing, Rebic won't see another minute unless something bad happens, because Leao has got so much potential there he could be at starting left winger at most clubs once he reaches his potential, in my opinion.
Yeah. What do you think? So, I mean, I don't think it's realistic, but let's say an opportunity comes up to land a really good left winger, like an Insigne, which I think is a pipe dream at this stage, and it's probably just pressure on Napoli. But then do you start to think, okay, this is an opportunity we can't pass up. We need to somehow finance this. We need to find a way to do it.
But then you're looking going down.
I mean, if you're looking for a win, though, I mean, they're first with a gap.
So if we finish second this season, what's the next step for us to win the league? Then we're like Inter were last year, where they're in theory, I'm not saying that our squad's anywhere near Inter's because I really don't think it is, and I think that they're absolutely flying and for a good reason. 1-11, they're the best team in the league, but we're in a position now, a crossroads of sorts where they were last season, when you either stick with what you've got going, or you think we're second. The next step is to win the league. So what do we need to do that? And you look at the players that we've been linked with; they're not all young. Belotti's a prime player now. Josip Ilicic is 33, and it seems we're pretty serious about getting him. And we keep being linked with experienced defenders as well. German Pazella again today, I guess would just be a depth option, but still. But he's how do you pronounce it? Hisai from Napoli.
Oh, yeah.
And another very experienced player, D'Ambrosio, who's going to be part of a title-winning team. That makes me think we're going the Inter way. But perhaps
I think that's the right way. I mean, youth teams don't win. It's very rare that the young club pulls it off. I mean, you see these Cinderella stories occasionally, but for the most part, the experienced players, that's how you get the job done. Young teams are poor teams most of the time, and the rich clubs can buy big name players that have big name resumes, and that's what we need if we want to win. So yeah, that's the next step. Ditch the youth project if we want to win.
Which is fair enough, but then if we don't win because all these teams are going to get stronger, let's face it, when Juventus put a competent manager in, they're going to be back challenging for Scudetto. Napoli, I really like Gattuso, but I think if they get a serial winner in as a manager, they'll be challenging for Scudetto. And then we go to the point where we can actually compete with them, even if we bring in a few experienced players in like Insigne, Ilicic, and we're back to the end of the Galliani-Berlusconi era where we've got these aging players on high wages and we can't get rid of them, and then we're back to square one again. So for me, you just stick with the youth project, which is working because we're second in the league right now. Stick with Pioli, let this team grow, because in 2 or 3 years, this team's going to be a winning team that's going to have 6, 7, 8 years at the very top, as opposed to 2 years at the very top and then try go again.
Yeah.
I think on that one, it's you add a few little chips of experience, in my opinion. Right, so bringing in a player like Ilicic would be great for the team. It's a weird one. I'm not the biggest fan of Insigne because I've seen what he's done for the Italian side, and I'm not really convinced that he's that consistent. Obviously, he's great for Napoli, but I don't know. Maybe I've got a thing with small players, and I feel like the way we play, we're much more suited for leaner and sort of taller players. I feel that's why I always love to watch Leao play, because he's increased his performances aerially, even though he's not great scoring headers. He's just a threat when it comes to knockdowns and whatnot. So I'd rather have a taller presence at the left wing or someone a bit more physical minded like a Rebic. Dropping a few elements of experience like Ilicic in there would be great. Like a rotating other centre back, or that Hisai as the backup right back behind Calabria to add to the overall depth, but also keep our chips in place with the young players, because those are assets that you could potentially sell or they're going to increase in value. And I think that's just something you have to have as in any team. You need that stock, otherwise you're right. If we turn into an Inter Milan and all of a sudden this project doesn't work and we have no more assets anymore, where do we start again from? Because I mean, we've seen it before with the Lucas Billiard deal. That's something that's I'll never forget that. Someone that looks so great for another team and it comes to us and he's horrendous. And I've always got an iffy thing about buying, getting in players of that certain age. And I feel like they come to the club and they feel like they don't have to sort of show what made them exactly what they were at the previous club and allow themselves to have this sort of slack mentality. So I'm always a bit iffy about getting players over the age of 30. But if it's a free transfer, in the difference is with someone someone cheap like Ilicic would be like 5 million euros, I'm all for it because it's a low risk move. But spending like 20 million euros on a player who's like 32 years old, not for me really.
Yeah, I agree with that entirely. Like the Billiard deal made no sense. I mean, when I say get an experienced player, I'm not just talking someone who's older that's been around. I'm talking about someone who's won something. Billy had never won anything. He's at Lazio. I'm talking like get a Jerome Boateng on a free. You know, get someone who has some merit to his name, some value that at the very least those young players could look up to and be excited to be on the same team as. Like we saw what Ibra brought to the team mentality wise the day he got there. You know, performance wise, that's a whole other thing as well. But just to have those winners in the team makes a huge difference. So get someone who, I mean, I think Modric just signed a new deal, so he's not happening. But when that was a link, that was a big deal. That would have been huge for us. That would have transformed our midfield. I mean, granted, we don't need that now with Kessié and Tonali. Benacer's kind of been iffy since return from injury, but players of that caliber can only help you. Yes, I understand aging players, high wages. You know, what happens if it doesn't work? But Inter's proof it does work. You know, Juventus is proof it does work. It works. That's how you win stuff. That's how we won in the 90s and the 80s. We had older players, but they got the job done, and that's what we want. So
I agree with the Jerome Boateng shout, by the way.
I think sometimes it definitely does work, don't get me wrong, but then you've got to ask yourself the question. Obviously, if it's a free transfer, there's a chance that the player just wants to move on for a new experience, which is totally fair enough. But then if you're buying these old players from the clubs that are also challenging at the very top, you've got to ask yourself the question, why are these top clubs wanting to get rid of these so-called top players that are going to make us better? They clearly feel like they can't give enough. Kier, I think, was just a fluke. Like, he's a fantastic defender for us, but no one expected him to be as good as he was. He's just a fluke, really. Ibra is in the elite category. He's Messi, Ronaldo, that kind of level. But someone like Insigne, why aren't Napoli willing to pay that money for him? Because they clearly don't feel he can give enough in the next couple of years. So why should we be left with him? If Napoli don't think they can do enough, then why should we think he could do enough for us? That's where I'm caught between it. Sometimes, if it's the right deal, but you've got to wonder why these top elite clubs that are competing for the trophies don't want these players, and why we think that's going to make us suddenly compete with them.
I agree with that.
Kier was never fight for good players.
Yeah, when Kier was linked with us, I thought that was probably a bad move, and I was wrong and happy to be wrong on that. Insigne is one that, like, I agree with you. You know, if Napoli doesn't want him anymore, like, he's a Napoli boy, so there's a question there. I don't view Napoli as a team that's at that caliber of the players I'm thinking of in my head. So I don't know. I mean, I get it. Like, he is an improvement, but at the same time, it's like, he's not a champion. He hasn't won anything either. You know, I mean, I guess he won the Coppa Italia last season, but I don't count that as like a winning mentality to get one trophy.
Do you not think that, like, the one position, especially in the attacking trident that the four people up top, we don't need to invest in my opinion, is the left wing. I feel like there is enough quality there. Like,
we need a right wing, and even, more than anything.
We're not even talking about Jens Peter Haig. You know, we're talking about his development being stinted by getting in another left winger. Obviously, we'd have to sell someone. If that, like, Insigne came in, we'd probably have to sell Leao. Let's talk about the right wing. Let's talk about the attacking midfielder position. Let's talk about the backup centre forward. I feel like, you know, we look at the stats for Leao, Rebic and Haig. How many goals have they provided this season? So if you add up all their goals, it's probably, you're talking about 15, 16 goals. The right wing, obviously, Salamakers doesn't get many goals. We're not even going to mention the other guy, what he plays there. He's just abysmal. And obviously attacking midfield as well. Çalhanoğlu, not enough goals. Brahim Diaz, not enough for me either. And obviously we need a backup centre forward. So I feel like if we're going to invest in anywhere in the attack, it's going to be in those three, not a left wing.
Entirely agree. 100%. Right wing should be priority. That's the position we need the most of.
It has to be. That needs to be the position where we sink money in as well. That's the position where you say we're going chips in with a youth project, and you sign an exciting young right winger. Obviously, the profiles that we're being linked with kind of suggest that as well. Ilicic wouldn't come in to be our starting right winger like people think. He'd be at best a bench option. You know, he's 33 now. He seems to be a bit unfit now. I think since he's been dropped to the bench with Atalanta. But like Jonathan Icone, even Talvin is probably that in between at 27. You know, he's a World Cup winner at the end of the day, and would come in on a free transfer, so doesn't hurt the books. Ready to win again now, and Orsolini, you know, doesn't really do an awful lot for me, but you know, those are the kind of profiles that I think we'll be looking at, and that's where you need to invest and say this is going to be our guy for the next few seasons. Love Salamakers to bits for his work rate, and I think his overall game's improved a lot, but he isn't up to scratch for a Champions League level club, he would get absolutely nullified by most Champions League teams. But he can develop. He's only 21, 22. He can develop further. By the age of 24, he might be a fantastic, well-rounded right winger, but he's nowhere close to that yet. And then Castillejo is like a quarter of the player that Sally is. So, he's got to go. Gian, you're on mute.
Sorry, I didn't realise. I'll stick it by what I said for the last 6 months. Like, Scamacca is so underappreciated. It's unbelievable. Like, for me, I don't think we need a new starting right wing, and I'm like a broken record. I just think we need someone that offers something different, like what Castillejo should offer for us, but just upgrade on him. If it was up to me, I'd invest most of the money in the number 10, get rid of Hakan, because that's the person that makes the team tick. Like when Hakan was on it post lockdown last year, he made us tick. And if you can get a number 10 that can do that, then we're laughing. I think Saleh should be the starting right winger, and he's 21-year-old, and he's so vital to this team. It's unbelievable. And when he's just going to improve and improve and improve.
Oh, I hope you're right on that, and I totally do appreciate what he. I've banged this drum a lot, but the balance that he brings to the team is absolutely crucial. That incredible run that we went on in 2020, he was as key a component of that as any. He's a winger that sacrifices so much, but I guess there comes a point where you need that sacrifice and end product if you really want to. But that might come, as I say, he's young. He's not going to hit his prime for another 4 or 5 years. There is so much time for him, and people might say it's hypocritical given what I've just said about Leao. But, there's a role for Scamacca in this team. He's playing week in, week out. We're showing him faith, and he ain't going to be frustrated. He loves it. Right, anyway, don't drag on too long here. Sassuolo preview. So we got Sassuolo on Wednesday evening. Now, I said just before we started recording, I'm more optimistic about this game than I was the Genoa game. And that is because Sassuolo are not going to come and play a low block against us for a start. They're a team that likes playing football. I think there will be more opportunities for us to cut them up, and let's put it that way. Also, we've got Ibrahimovic back, which will be a big boost. And Sassuolo are in that weird position. I think they're 8th in the table, where they're still, I suppose, within touching distance of a Europa League spot, but it's fading. They're 8 points behind Roma. So it's going to be a tough one. So they're just kind of playing with that freedom that should make it a bit easier for us, I'm hoping. This season, Sassuolo, 16 wins, 6 draws, 9 defeats, 55 goals. Oh, no, that's wrong. 12 wins, 10 draws, 9 losses, 52 goals scored, 49 goals against, +3 goal difference. They have actually sort of dropped off a cliff a bit since the halfway point of the season when they were in 5th. They dropped to 9th, and now they've just bounced back up into 8th. But the theme is that they've struggled against the top teams so far this season. Inter have done the double over them. We beat them away from home. They lost 5-1 at Atalanta. They lost 3-1 away at Juve. They lost 2-1 away at Lazio. So they seem to struggle with the teams above them, which is understandable. They're a young team that have got their limitations, but there's players to look out for without a doubt. Obviously, Berardi, the boyhood Inter fan who for a while loved playing against us, seemed to always score. Jeremy Boga's fantastic. Ahmed Traore is someone who I would actually love for us to take a look at for the attack. I just wondered if it might not be a perfect fit for the right wing. And then obviously Manuel Locatelli as well. And Caputo, I don't know if he's fit or not for this game, but we'll hear more about that. So there's definitely players to watch out for. That being said, I don't think we're going to get another clean sheet, but I do think we are going to win. So my prediction is going to be a 3-1.
You stole it from me. I think it's back on the score sheet. I think he's going to return, and he's finally going to show us what he came here to do. You know, he's kind of struggled in the last few weeks. I don't even know if that's true. It's been on and off. You know, he's been weird lately. So I think he's going to actually come out and make a statement performance. I think probably a brace, definitely not a hat trick. He can't seem to get that this year. But yeah, I think Sassuolo plays the type of football that allows us to attack better, and it's going to work out well for us. So I'm also going 3-1.
I'm actually going to be brave and say we get a clean sheet. And I'm just going to go 2-0. Just a routine win. I think we'll just look nice on and off the pitch, like in terms of like bringing the subs on and stuff like that. I think everything's going to click and it'll just be a straightforward 2-0 win. And Napoli have just gone 1-0 up.
Really?
They have.
Hey, the title race is back on. I'm telling you.
It was never off. It was never off for me.
So where will the patch go? The Scudetto patch, will it be just here? That's going to look good next season. 2-0, that'd be nice. A clean sheet would be lovely. Stefano?
Yeah, I've just checked out the Sassuolo team from this weekend. I think they got a nice win against Fiorentina. Caputo doesn't look like he's fit. He didn't even come off the bench. They rotated a few players. So Berardi came off the bench. Locatelli came off the bench. De Frel came off the bench. So they seem to be, I think they're saving some players, obviously, for us midweek. I feel like, I agree. I'm going Gian on that one. 2-0. I'm going to get a clean sheet. But mainly because I feel like we react better when it comes to midweek games. We haven't got a whole week to sort of sit there and moan about, what wasn't a great performance today. And then the team and Pioli's just going to react and going to say, look, you guys need to. I think with Ibra as well on the pitch, you think he's going to have it, in the San Siro, us wasting these chances. I feel like he's going to be screaming at players if the ball doesn't come to him or if people aren't taking their chances. I feel like we're going to be a bit more clinical in what's going to be an open game. And I feel like, 2-0 or 3-1 is a great thing to go for, but I'm going to go with 2-0.
Yeah, that would be very nice. What I will say about this game
I actually think that Sassuolo...
Go on.
I actually think Sassuolo have still got something to play for, because if Roma win the Europa League, obviously the spots will then go down. So Sassuolo could still qualify for Europe if it's just the Conference League. So they've still got something left to play for, I suppose.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that daft Conference League that they're bringing in. Oh, that brings us nicely to our next topic, actually. What about the fact that we're not going to be playing in Serie A next season? We've got the Super League.
Yeah, we're going to be rich.
So AJ doesn't know. This is where I have to explain what the Super League, the plan for the Super League is. So basically, it's been in the pipeline for a while now. There's been whispers about it in the media, but nothing has ever really come from the clubs. And I think UEFA have always tried to bat it down whenever it has emerged. But finally, it's leaked from the New York Times, and there's other sources that are saying it now, that there are 12 clubs who have basically had secret talks for months now and have agreed in principle for a new European Super League. And these 12 clubs have basically all pretty much signed up for it already. There would be no French or German clubs in the first edition of it because PSG and Bayern and Dortmund are all against it, which is interesting. But yeah, the premise is that there'd be 6 English clubs, and then there'd be Milan, Inter, and Juve would be in it, and then there'd be Real Madrid and Barcelona and some. But yeah, so yeah, 350 million euros is the amount that each team will receive for entering. So that's quite a lot of money. That would allow us to be more than debt free.
So that's into not entering.
But then this was met with a very strong response by UEFA, who said that if any of them sign up for this, you'll be kicked out of the leagues that you're in. The players that choose to partake in it won't be eligible to play international football. Basically, they're just trying to do everything they can to stop this. Now, we haven't heard the end of it. My personal opinion on this, not on the project as a whole, but just on the announcement and stuff, is it's perfectly timed. They want to announce it on the Sunday night because UEFA tomorrow are set to announce a reform to the Champions League where there'd be 36 teams, and the elite teams are upset about the idea that there'll be more teams that they have to beat to stay in the Champions League. So the timing of it is that it's to put pressure back on UEFA so that they're involved in the negotiations over any kind of an overhaul of the Champions League. I think it'll work as well. I think that this is a real sort of big bang moment when it comes to football. If the Super League were to ever happen, then the game would never be the same again. Quite frankly, you're looking at it moving to like an American franchise style thing where you've just got the 12, the 16, whatever best teams doing their own thing, and everything else is like your affiliate level stuff. And as a football purist, if there is such a thing anymore, I hope it doesn't happen. The idea of Milan not competing in Serie A seems absolutely daft to me. And I don't see any way that the competitions can coexist. There won't be a Champions League and a Super League. It just won't happen. So, yeah, I don't know what you lads think.
I don't like it. I mean, I like the idea of us getting 350 million. That sounds great. But that's about it. I think if anything, like you say, it's a negotiation tactic. It's putting the pressure on them. I've watched a video on YouTube from Tifo Football. If you haven't seen it, go check it out, about the new model Champions League, and they explain it pretty well. It just sounds like a lot more for the players and the clubs to have to put up with. And I think you're right. They don't want to deal with that. So they're retaliating. They're upset about FFP. So they're doing what they can to kind of put some pressure on UEFA to say, this is what we want. Either we bail or you meet our demands. So hopefully we could meet somewhere in the middle and keep things the way they are. I've always, as an American, I've been a critic of our sporting models because it benefits losers. They get better draft spots, things like that when they finish last. Whereas the way we do it with our sport, losers lose and winners win, and that's important. That's how it should be. So I don't want to see that change. I'd much rather keep the same model. I don't know. I like the idea of us getting rich, but at what cost?
Yeah,
I think for the first season, it'd be brilliant. Don't get me wrong, like playing all the big teams. But then after the first season, you lose the suspense of who you're going to get drawn against. The thought of like getting your Manchester Uniteds later in the Barcelona, because that 2-3 weeks down the line you've got them anyway in the league, whatever you want to call it. I think from a fan's point of view, it just ruins it completely. I mean, just imagine. Obviously, we don't live in Milan, so we're a bit unfortunate. But imagine all your away games being in like different countries back to, like the cost that it has on the fans and stuff like that. Just everything involved in it is just shit, just shit. Really,
yeah. I mean, I'm a bit in a mixed opinion here. I don't agree with the Super League, whatever it's called. As well, I think as a fan, as well as a Milan fan, if we do qualify for Champions League this year, it would have felt so earned, so like, it's been a long time coming, we fight it. And the team's worked. It just then say, oh, you automatically qualify for the Super League every year. It just takes away the work rate, what's required to qualify for such an elite tournament. We're just getting in there from our previous name as opposed to earning that spot for what we're doing on the pitch. So there's that element. I'm also not happy continuously with UEFA. I think they're a joke. How we've been treated in the past with FFP and the lack of equality going throughout the major teams. Obviously, we've seen it with Man City, PSG. There never seemed to be any sort of punishment or accountability for the way they do things, yet we seem to be hit with that stick every time. So I feel like I'm in half a mind where this is a good kick up the arse that UEFA deserve, but at the same time, I think this is too much. This is too much for us to go down.
Yeah, I thought their statement was interesting. Enough is enough, as if they're not one of the most corrupt organizations in the world, I mean, time and time again, they're in the mud for doing all kinds of corruption and bribery, and here they are just mad that clubs want to play the game. And
also they are ridiculously inefficient as an organisation. They've needed to overhaul financial fair play for a while, and I think COVID's going to probably bring that about. But without COVID, it wouldn't happen. As you say, all the corruption allegations and the proven corruption. There's so many things that you could pull UEFA up on. And it really feels like, you want to say this is the thing that you're taking such a strong stance against. But what I hope that it does is it brings everything to such a...
create this...
Go on.
No, it's all right. Go
on. I hope that everything comes to this boiling point whereby there is positive changes and there is some kind of meeting point in the middle. Sometimes you need a massive conflict like this to get everyone around a table and work out a sustainable way of moving forward. Sometimes it's just what you need. And I hope that that's what comes from this. I hope that the big clubs say to UEFA, this is why we weren't happy and this is what needs to change. And UEFA say, this is why you're wrong, this is why you're greedy, and this is, what we propose for how it should work moving forward. And then you eventually sign some papers, and what we've got is a good vision for moving forward. Football needs to be updated. I mean, it's funny, Gary Neville, for example, went on a big rant about it on Sky Sports earlier. He called Man United and Liverpool a disgrace. He works for the company, Sky Sports, who were the ones who spearheaded a complete overhaul of the way that English football worked and brought about the Premier League in the early 90s. People forget about that. People forget that was what essentially made them become the big six clubs. And he owns the football. Yeah, as you know, he owns Salford City as well.
That's bought its way out of the conference. That hasn't done it on merit. They've just bought the way out of the conference into the football league. It's a bit rich coming from him. Some of his points were valid.
Yeah, I agreed with his rant. I mean, I do think like his club, it's Salford's, whatever it's called, is going to benefit from having the top six gone. That's 6 spots for lower teams to come up. So, it's probably better for him, but he's right. It's not a good thing as far from the fan perspective. I think it's pretty poor, but
yeah,
it all comes down to money. UEFA just wants more money. The clubs want more money. They'll find somewhere in the middle.
I've got an interesting question.
I just laugh at the people that
I was going to say, who's got the power?
Sorry.
I'm laughing at us, people.
My thing's lagging a bit.
You go first. Me?
Sure.
All right.
Sorry, we just I'm just saying, bad then.
Who's got the power in this position? Is it the clubs? Because obviously, are you really going to watch the Champions League without Real Madrid in it, without Liverpool in it, or is it UEFA? With this, obviously, they've stated their threat. They're saying obviously you're going to be kicked out of your leagues, but are you going to watch Serie A without Juventus, without Milan, without Inter Milan? So who really has the power in this position? I feel like, yeah, you're right. This is an opportunity to get everyone around the table and talk about their disputes. And I feel like this is kind of like one of those moments where maybe the Super League teams are looking interested into it just as a way to get UEFA to wake up a little bit. But it's quite interesting to see. It's kind of like a card game. Who's got the bluff? And I think, honestly, UEFA will be smart to know that there is a lot of power that comes behind the teams. And, very similar to like any franchise of any sport in the world. You talk about like American sports. Are you watching the NBA without the LA Lakers or the Celtics? Are you watching the NFL with, I'm trying to think who's like huge. I'm not a big fan of NFL. But anyway,
yeah, I'm not watching any of those leagues with those teams, to be fair, but I agree. I'm going to watch Milan wherever they're at. I'm not going to watch Serie A. I don't care to watch Genoa versus Sassuolo. That sounds terrible. I want to watch Milan. So whether they're in the Super League or not, I'm going to watch them. I think the real issue is when they put that ban on players playing for the World Cup. Do good players want to come play for a team that's going to disqualify them from playing for the World Cup? I mean, that's a big deal to a lot of players. So I think that's where the main issue is.
Dare I say that they've already done similar, whereby it's been proven that every player has their price. Some players who've been at the peak of their careers in Europe have pissed their career off to go to China, and they've essentially said that they don't mind being taken out of the limelight. It might jeopardise their international chances. Players like El Shaarawy, players like Oscar, who've gone over there and they've just.
But then they come back just in time for the Euros.
Yeah, and also I know going there doesn't stop them from playing international football. It certainly doesn't help either. But I don't know. I guess that is when we would find out how many players really love playing for their country and how many are in football because they just happen to be good at it and they can make a lot of money out of it. And some players, remember, are more attached to the club than their country. Players have switched country before. That's kind of mental to me. Like Diego Costa has done it. And I don't know. It's one of those things where we won't know until it happens, if it happens, and I still don't think it will happen. I still think this is all a pressure movement, and they'll sit down around the table, and it'll be the start of some kind of reform that will be necessary. I do think it's necessary on both sides. Football needs to change. It just has to be for the better. It has to be. And sometimes you need a big head-on collision like this to make stuff happen. As I said, it's like the Big Bang moment of football. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see if that happens. But I'd like the 350 million. Right, questions. Would it really be that bad if Donnarumma left for free? Buying a young new goalkeeper would save us money to invest elsewhere. Now, we don't have anything to recap on the Donnarumma news front because nothing's happened. Apparently, we've submitted an offer that he hasn't replied to. So that's great. Left us on red. We've been aired by our number one goalkeeper. And yeah, I guess him leaving is increasing by 5% as a chance every week. And I know how most of us feel about this, but Stefano, what do you think?
It'd be horrible. I can't see any scenario of losing this guy on the free would be good for us. Yeah, I don't know. I think it would kill us. Not kill us as the team and like we'll go into free fall. I just think it's just bad. It's just really bad. But obviously, if he's chasing the money, then what can you do? I feel like it's just going to be sticks and fire. Pointing at this guy. They're going like, have you chosen money over the club? And Costa Curta was right last week in what he said. Why are you kissing the badge 1 minute and not signing the contract? So yeah, I can't see any scenario where this comes out good, especially for him if he doesn't sign. So.
Yeah, I don't think losing him's bad. I think losing him on a free is bad. I mean, if we're going to lose him, we could sell him for record fees. So it would be terrible to let him walk for free and go to potentially Juventus. At the very least, he owes us to, if he wants to go, re-sign a short-term contract and let us sell him on that so that we could at least get some sort of profit. He owes us that much. You wouldn't have a career if it wasn't for this club. So I don't know. But I don't think he wants to leave. I think they're just playing hardball and it's frustrating.
Perhaps the media have got bored and they're creating a lot of headlines. We know that is what often happens anyway. But I wonder just how much of this is going to accelerate once Champions League qualification is assured or not. Then we'll know if we have the budget to be able to say, here's the contract offer properly, sign it or leave. I think top four is going to be massive because economically, I think he's going to struggle to get a better offer than what we've put on the table. We know what the times are like with COVID, and pretty much all the top European clubs have their goalkeeper situation set. So I don't think he's going to get a better contract offer unless there's sort of a carousel of top goalkeepers, and I don't see that happening, and nobody does, because if there's going to be money spent, it's going to be on more key positions than that. So, yeah, I think our offer's probably the only serious and credible one on the table. We'll see if he signs it. Cool.
I was just going to say on that, I genuinely don't believe there's that much interest in him. And I know it sounds a bit bonkers, but for the past 5-6 years, there's always been like a little something there with other teams, but no one's actually made like any official bids. When Milan have been struggling financially, the powerhouse could have come in like Chelsea when they signed Kepa and paid 70-80 million, and we'd have sold him for it. And now it's coming up to free. Has he even got any other offers from anywhere else? There's rumours of it, but I don't think there is. And you look at recent games, just stick another goalkeeper in net, maybe them 2 goals still happen, but we still win the games. He's not doing anything to say, I'm a game changer at the minute. He has in the past when our attacks have struggled and we've needed them clean sheets, but I suppose if we're scoring the goals, we don't necessarily need the clean sheets, and he's not really doing much for us at the minute.
Next question comes from IP. No, we've had the Super League format thing, actually, never mind. Giovanni Recchia. We got this one via DM, actually. It is, I think this summer Milan should move on from Romagnoli. There are big clubs interested in him for a high price. I think the smart thing to do with him is to sell him and use whatever money they get to lock up Tomori and add to the attack for next season. The rumours about Romagnoli leaving are insisting, and they're actually gathering quite a bit of steam. It seems like he's lost his position in the starting 11, which he won't like at the prime of his career. It's going to be quite hard for us to sign him to a new contract, and he's only got a year left on his deal, so it's kind of now or never this summer, There's still a bit of value in him. You're probably talking 20, 25, 30 mil, and it's pure capital gains because his fee's being paid off. So I can see the temptation.
Yeah, I'm okay with him being sold. I don't think he's our best keeper right now. I don't think he's even, looks like we lost Steph there. I don't think he's top 2. I definitely think Kier Tomori is our pair right now to go with, and I think Abiya's looked great every time he's played. So maybe we still need a fourth choice, definitely, but I don't think Romagnoli is fourth choice right now. But I just don't think it's going to work to lose him.
Fourth choice.
He won't be. He won't at all. No, he'll leave. You don't go from being the captain starting for seasons to fourth choice.
It'd be fourth choice. Look, I'd love Romagnoli to do well, and I just think it's in everybody's best interest. Don't let it get to the end of next season where we're in the same position that we are now with Donnarumma and Hakan. Just sell him. Look, he's done good for us when we've needed him, don't get me wrong, but maybe it is just time to move on now. Just bring someone else in.
And interestingly, to me, there's a really obvious move here as well, where we could get 20 mil for Romagnoli. I think that's about what we're going to get. I think people who were saying we should try get 40 mil in this market are daft. With his contract, his lack of form, and the fact that there's no money in football. 20 mil would be good, and I'd say to Fiorentina, there's that money for Milenkovic, who's in a very similar situation to Romagnoli. Whereby he's got a year left on his contract. He wants to further his ambitions and stuff like that. I think he would be a very good natural replacement and someone who's better fit for our team overall as well. He could be the backup to Kier, definitely. And then perhaps we might go for a younger profile who would be able to rotate with Tomori. That would be nice. I would like another Tomori type profile, someone who's fast and physical. That'd be great. Simakan, Loic Badi, I don't know, some Facundo Medina. Some of the names
never been linked to.
Some of the names are quite funny. But I think that seems like the most obvious thing at this stage is to sell him. Also, it's another one less Raiola client at the club. And I think that we're not on great terms with him at the moment, so that might actually make more sense, to be honest. Right, next question. Oh, wait, AJ, you got any thoughts on selling him?
I already answered. I was the first one to go.
Yeah, okay. My bad.
Get rid of him. Get him out of here.
The Magnifico. Thoughts on Rebic? Seems like he prefers only to score stunners. That's true. I mean, he scored the harder chance today and then missed the easy one. How important do you think he is for this team? Do you think he's a Champions League level player?
Hot and cold, like you said. Only scores worldies, misses all the easy chances. Never has just an okay game. It's either good or bad. Not a Champions League quality player. I don't think he's that important to the club. I think he's easily replaceable. Maybe not easily, but I think the club's willing to replace him easily.
Yeah, Gian?
Yeah, same for me. I think if you're going to sell one player in the left-wing position, I'd personally sell Rebic. He has a good first half of the season. He has a bad first half of the season, and he's good for the second half of the season. And that's about all you get with him. And I think you can get enough from Rebic, 25, 30 million, which would be good money, and reinvest that somewhere else. And then you've still got two left wingers in Leao and Hauger.
Yeah, I think Rebic is important to this team. I think that he's fundamental for the way that we play. He works really hard. We talked about Salamanca and the sacrifice that he makes off the ball. He presses hard. He has a knack for scoring important goals as well. I think that's worth noting. And his second half of the season, like last season, has been very good. He is, however, 28. So there comes a time when eventually we'll realise he's hit his ceiling, and he ain't really gonna kick on too much from there. I guess there'll be some doubts about, the accounting side of it as well, because obviously we acquired him in theory for about 3.5 million or maybe a bit either side from Eintracht Frankfurt. So if there is a bit of resale value still in him, then it's tempting because we'd make a nice gain on him. There we go. Here he is. He's back. Right, I'll ask you the question now, Stefano, and then we'll
tactical
but yeah,
I was saying that Raiola's cut my connection. I think the money I've been spewing for Donnarumma's contract fees, cut out. But yeah, go on.
Rebic. Basically, how important is he to the team? Is he a Champions League level player?
100%. Yeah, very important. I think for him as well, it's frustrating because it seems to be that when he's on his game, when he keeps everything simple, he's brilliant and he's an effective person. And he, like, the goal today was amazing. Especially when you don't expect him to score on his left foot, which is even more impressive. But the one when he obviously misses the opportunity to start of the second half is frustrating, and that's where he does his step overs sometimes as well. And it's like, just keep it simple. You've got the pace to beat your the right back. you've got the strength to hold him off, and you've got quite a good right foot and a decent left foot as well. So when he keeps it very simple, he's amazing. And I feel like him with his experience at Eintracht Frankfurt, experience at the was it Euro 2018 when he got with Croatia to the semis. I think he's invaluable. We need to have him in our squad in the if we get Champions League football next year.
I would definitely keep him around. I think Pioli likes him, and I think, as I say, his sacrifice and what he does on and off the ball is important. Someone said here, this is from Greg, he doesn't have a question, he just wants Gian to know that not everyone on Milan Twitter wants Pioli's head on a spike. Thought that was quite funny.
It does genuinely seem that way at times. There's a small minority of us that seem to appreciate what Pioli's done, where the rest are looking at any excuse to get rid of him.
The haters are the loudest, always.
That's true. I will say I've got total respect and admiration for the fact that you've backed him on Twitter every single week when people have been dragging him through the mud. You know, you do need a section of the fan base that is very supportive and realistic. Otherwise, it just becomes so negative and toxic. One final thing. A lot of talk in the week about Scamacca being a potential deputy to Ibra. We saw him firsthand today. What do you think? He looks a bit rough around the edges.
I think it's great that he got a goal for us, but I mean, if that's how he's going to be defending corners, I don't want that shit on my team. Get him out of here. I mean, he turned his back. It was terrible.
I don't know what he was doing there at all.
Yeah,
I see the hyping it. Me and Stefano were talking on Twitter, and he's kind of convinced me about Vlahovic now slightly. And I think you're getting more value for money there than if you buy Scamacca.
Yeah, this is going to be probably bad news for the guys who have to balance the books, but we're going to need two good centre forwards to come in the next 2 summers. We're going to need one this summer who's going to be the backup to Ibra, and then we're going to need Ibra as replacement or another young forward. You know what I mean? We're going to need, by the start of the 22-23 season, we're going to need 2 new strikers. So that's a tough one. As I said, the absolute ideal would be to get Vlahovic in to work for the season under Ibra. That would be fantastic. And then to sign Belotti on a free would be great, but I don't think that's happening. I think if he's not renewing, they're selling him. But then there'll probably be another opportunity next summer, then someone a bit different who hasn't been mentioned. Maybe then you go for an Edouard or a Marlon or somebody like that to come in and offer a little bit different to what a Vlahovic might. But Scamacca would be somewhere near the bottom of the pile when it comes to the names we've been linked with. I just think he needs another season at a club like Genoa to proper develop. Because, as I say, he looks really rough around the edges. Technically, he's far from polished. But he is a good size, and he knows how to use that, and he is an aerial threat. I've no doubt that he's going to be a very functional Serie A striker in years to come, but I just don't know if he's going to be at that Milan into Juve level. He might be good to replace Dzeko at Roma, for example.
Yeah, no, I was going to say when he's... Okay. He's got nice tattoos, Scamacca. That's probably what I have to say about him.
Right to his neck.
Nothing. You know, I think I saw in the previous game when we played them, when the 2-2 draw, there wasn't anything I could say. He's the next best thing, and obviously I think we get overhyped with Italian under-21 players, and we think that we've learned. With Lucatrone and stuff, the talents, there's a bit of raw talent there, but I don't think there's enough for me to go, you're going to be giving me 10 to 15 goals a season. And I think that's what we need. We need someone who knows the league. We need someone who is, either young, like, is it Vlahovic, or someone in their prime, like Belotti. And I think people with Belotti as well, they get very confused of obviously he plays for a very poor Torino side. Let's get that straight. And I feel like if you add him into our side with his work rate, with his aerial threat, with how the way he's just clinical with chances, there are so many opportunities today. We saw with Leao that he's blunt. Didn't quite take up. That Belotti would have just eaten up. There was one noticeably. I think I can't remember what it was in the second half. He put Leao through, and you're thinking, you're on your right foot. Just have a clean strike at goal, and he takes too long with it. And I think the centre back comes over and shoos it away, and we have to recycle possession again. Belotti's taking those chances, at least putting it on target, and then you might clear up the rebound, get it in or something. But yeah, Scamacca's a no for me.
we'll see. I mean, 30 million as
Looks
well
like
seems
an
like a
outcast in
massive
Geordie's
risk.
sword, doesn't he?
Christ, with them tattoos, yeah, he certainly does. But do you know what? He might actually go back to Sassuolo. He might go back to Sassuolo for next season and do well there because they put a lot of faith in youth and they create a lot of chances. That might be right for him. So we'll see. But yeah, that's it. We'll wrap it up here. Conscious of time, 1 hour 20. This is a solid effort. So yeah, thank you if you've made it this far. I've been your host, Ollie Fisher. You can find me on Twitter at Ollie Fisher, as you can see on the screen if you're watching on YouTube. A reminder to check out our shop, which is in the link in the description. We've got four designs out at the moment of legendary players plus the SempreMilan logo design, so go and check that out. Subscribe to the YouTube if you haven't already. Turn on notifications. Check out Stefano's videos in midweek. Been joined by Anthony Torgrew.
Yeah, I think Ollie covered everything, so I'm good.
Gian.
Yeah, cheers, lads. See you next week.
And Stefano, thank you very much for joining us for the first time, but definitely not the last.
I do have something. Sorry, I won't be here the next 2 episodes, so I'm moving. So yeah, this is my last one for a little bit, and I think Steph is gonna replace me for those 2 episodes. I'm not sure.
We're in talks, in negotiations.
He's holding out for more.
I'm in talks with my Wi-Fi box. I might have to punch that or something. And have that breaking up again. So it's a joy to get to join you guys because it's much more reactionary based, and obviously what I do is a bit more not more informative. It's a bit more calmer, and I can sort of take myself away from the game that happened on the weekend or maybe midweek and sort of give a more of a unbiased opinion. But like here, I'm able to sort of no filter and maybe attack a player. I might fire away.
Yeah.
Maybe look forward to if Donnarumma doesn't sign that contract, get me on here and I'll be effing and blinding.
Cracking, yeah. We're definitely we're gonna have about 9 people on here for the episode when Donnarumma leaves, just to let everybody fly off the handle. But yeah, thank you very much for listening, everybody. We will catch you in a week's time, hopefully with 3 more points in the bag.
Conti, bella palla per Rebic, Ibra, Rebic, il tiro, gol!